All right, it's time to finish up Stormveil Castle. We got a couple questions to answer. The first is, what is the deep dark secret in the basement of the castle? And the second is, will Godrick die like the little wuss he is? And the answer to the second is yes, but only because yes, but only because I'm gonna summon Nepheli Loux to kill him for me. Oh shoot. I try not to attack these dudes unless they're hostile. Just because they generally are nice guys once you get to know them. But I forgot which ones were and weren't hostile there, and just sort of went on a rampage. Another Trina's Lily. This one I can't explain. Trina, or one of Trina's alter egos, is obsessed with solving a problem in the lands between. And so it makes sense that she or her followers would have a presence here in this part of the castle. An iron great shield large enough to cover the entire body depicts the Round Table Hold, gathering place of champions. And there we have Sorcerer Rogier. Surely what you seek is somewhere close by. Again, you can see all the holes bored in. The entire castle is crumbling. And you can see those... and here we can see a picture of Stormveil. But there's the area where we start out, but it's hard to tell whether it actually has any buildings on it. And there's a divine tower. There is no castle. That's just Storm Hill, and you can see it's very faint, but you can see the hawks are there. But the castle hasn't been built yet. So the divine tower and the bridge leading to it greatly predate the castle itself. Shoot. Missed an insignificant item. Hopefully I die trying to do this so we can go back and see it. We've got just tons of those various statues that we see around, including a bunch of the ones with the lady pouring the water. Some with a lady reading, and some with the lady holding a sword. Oh shoot. Okay, and we got a sorcery there that we aren't smart enough to use, but let's take a look at it. Rancor Call, sorcery of the Servants of Death, summons vengeful spirits that chase down foes. Charging enhances potency. Once thought lost, this ancient death hex was rediscovered by the necromancer Garrus. And note that it requires more intelligence than faith. It requires both intelligence and faith, despite being a spell. Okay, here we have routes leading down into this cavern, and we've got all these boats and what appears to have been an old riverbed. It's a really non-suspicious setup is what I'm trying to say. Out. The overleveling is definitely starting to kick in. I'm used to this being a very difficult fight. I shouldn't have. Said that before I won, actually. Again, we've got these butterflies. Up until recently, we'd assumed that these butterflies had to do with Melina. Now we think they might be Mesmer. And finally, we've got the secret at the base of the castle. So in this funeral area, it appears these funeral boats were sent down this river to try to for burial. But here we have this enormous, sort of terrifying corpse, and you can see it's got the same eye sockets as the death root, and it's got this root sort of coming off of it that's got all the thorns and everything. We've got the Prince of Death's pustule. Let's take a look at that. A fetid pustule taken from facial flesh raises vitality, which governs resistance to the effects of death. It is said that the pustule came from the visage of the Prince of Death, he who used to be called Godwyn. As first dead of the demigods, it's said he's buried deep under the capital at the Erd Tree's roots. So we aren't under the capital currently. We're under Stormveil. So if he's buried there, what's with this face here? And note that they didn't say it was his corpse, it's his visage. Here we can see Rogier being impaled with something. And dying, essentially. This is, creepy bad place. And then, of course, it drops right back here with the lady pouring the water. Alright, actually, before we fight Godwyn, let's do one more thing. Let's see if Rogier escaped with his life. Oh, we don't know yet.
I thank you. So what can I do for you?
Huh, guess he doesn't show up till later. Okay. So, finally we have Godrick the Grafted. In interviews, Miyazaki has said that each of the demigods represents a heroic concept, and that what they've tried to do is take those heroic ideas and sort of twist them until they're kind of terrifying and monstrous. And so, to some extent, we're supposed to have sympathy for these demigods that we're killing. That's harder with Godrick than with most, but you got to think about sort of where he's coming from. Godrick is Aragorn. He is the king returned. He's got the correct bloodline. He's the last of this golden lineage. and he's not up for it at all. He's he's got this great great grandfather type character. Again, we don't know the exact relationship, but who is sort of this world's analog to King Arthur. He's got this other ancient relative who is beloved by all, and he just doesn't measure up in the least, and he's taken all of these great pains just to try to measure up to the legacy that's been left to him, and he's failed. And so, while it's hard to feel bad for him because he's awful, he just stinks, you can summon some pity for that, for someone who just sort of can't measure up to the legacy they've been left.
Mighty dragon, thou the true-born heir. Lend me thy strength, O kindred. Deliver me unto greater heights. Well. A lowly tarnished, playing as a lord. I command thee, kneel! I am the lord of all that is golden.
He has this giant lion crest on his axe, but the axe is massive and ornate. It's nothing at all like it's nothing like anything that, Godfrey would be caught dead using. But it is an axe. He's got to use an axe, of course. Because Godfrey used an axe. I have questions about why we let him do this, but let's move on.
Truest of dragons. Lend me thy strength.
Again, the appeal to his forefathers. I'm gonna get murdered here. The summons do sometimes kind of trivialize these fights, but I like that she fights with you here. She has an important connection to the Golden Lineage. And so the fact that she's with you here, and that she actually gets the kill.
I am the Lord of all that is golden, and one return together to our home, bathed in rays of gold.
It's you know, somewhat interesting to have her here, even if it does sort of trivialize this fight. So notice that he calls the dragon his kindred. Also notice that unlike wait, no, I'm wrong. Never mind. But yeah, notice that he calls the dragon his kindred. I have questions about Godfrey's origins. I hope that they're answered eventually. But you can see everything that he does is based on sort of getting the approval of these people who are long dead. And if he kills you, which he didn't manage to do because I cheaped the fight really hard, he he'll say, Godrick, did thou witness? He's constantly trying to prove that he's worthy of this legacy that's been left to him. And he just isn't. The great rune of the Shardbearer Godrick, devoid of any benediction. Seek the divine tower of Limgrave, which stands beyond the great bridge from Stormveil Castle. And we also got his remembrance, right? Where? Give me a moment. This controller just hates me today for some reason. Remembrance of Godrick the Grafted, hewn into the Erd Tree. The power of its namesake can be unlocked by a finger reader, or it can be used to gain a bunch of runes. A feeble man sought power through the grotesque act of grafting. One day we'll return together to our home bathed in rays of gold. So yeah, that was Godrick. There is sort of an epilogue here, though. A fun one.
What a pathetic excuse for a lord you were. Craven to the bone. Pushing me about like that. And after all that grafting, where did that get you? Look down on me, would ya? Godrick, you filthy slug. Feel it. Feel it. Feel my bloody wrath. Oh. Hello there. This weasel was... Godrick was always looking down on me. He got what he bloody deserved thanks to you. I tell you though, what goes around comes around. He had an ugly heart, an uglier countenance, and met the ugliest of ends, eh? Now, I suppose I'm free. I can do whatever takes my fancy. Can I, mate?
And here we have the throne room. If you look at the throne, well, it's hard to get a good look, but let's try this. You can see that it's got all these people it's got the tree, obviously, because everything has a tree. But it's got all these people in sort of the branches. And then at the top, um, at the top of the tree, there's some sort of uh, room or bedchamber or something. And you can see, Tarnished Archaeologist talks a lot about this, but you can see trees like this in actual, like, real world art. They're generally family trees. They depict the lineage of, like, royal families and stuff. So, um, interesting that there's a room at the top of it. And yeah, so we defeated Godrick, but there's no one on the throne. So we will need to come back to Limgrave at some point and figure out who the rightful ruler is. Work with Kenneth Height, who I'd be shocked if anyone remembers because I don't. And find us a true and stalwart lord. Alright. But, as Gideon said, once we've gotten our first rune, the Inner Sanctum of the Round Table Hold will open, and we'll be able to have our audience with the fingers. So let's go ahead and do that. First, has Godrick finally made... I mean, not Godrick. Has Rogier finally made it? Yes. Notice the flies buzzing around him. You can see roots kind of poking out. And it's that that awful, like, death root that comes out of Godwin's roots.
Ah, we meet again after all. I apologize for any offense given by my bearing, but I'm quite unable to move, you see. So, what do you need? Ah, you defeated Godrick and claimed yourself a great rune. Looks like we both got what we wanted out of Stormveil, didn't we? Well done, friend. Something to mark the occasion. Go on, take it. As you might have guessed, I still can't move. My fighting days are behind me. No need to be polite. I've no use for it anymore. Ah, so you've met Dee. Dee is an old friend. We found ourselves journeying together for a time, bound by our exploration of death. But our paths have since diverged, never again to cross. Though that's hardly an uncommon fate for two friends. Dee was telling me that he discovered the mark of the centipede. The centipede is an ancient symbol of the curse mark. As long as whoever finds and uses it is not nefarious by nature, then we may be able to form an alliance. If only I could speak to them in person. And if they were like you, all the better.
Ah, hello there. What can I do for you? Are you acquainted with a man named Rogier? You know, the piteous fellow hiding away on the balcony. He was a formidable spellblade in times past. Don't let his easy air deceive you. He was wise beyond his years, stout of heart and clear of mind. No more, though. You see him now, ravaged by thorns, muttering and rambling, like he's half dead already. I can't stomach to watch. Take well the lesson, friend. That's how you end up when seduced by those who live in death. When grace is sullied, it rots people from the inside, breaks them.
So, you know, two very different philosophies on those who live in death.
Oh, still need something? The misshapen corpse on the Stormveil. That is a sacred relic. of the Black Knives plot, as that famed night of assassination is known. It happened during the golden age of the Erd Tree, long before the shattering of the Elden Ring. Someone stole a fragment of the Rune of Death from Malekith, the Black Blade, and on a bitter night, murdered Godwyn the Golden. That was the first recorded death of a demigod in all history, and it became the catalyst. Soon, the Elden Ring was smashed, and thus sprang forth the war known as the Shattering. I once wished to become a scholar, you see. I've spent many an hour scouring the archives for knowledge of that fateful plot. The world has grown crooked, and if you intend to put it to rights, you'd better understand what happened to make it this way. And that thing is to blame for the shape I'm in now. I urge the utmost caution. Don't disturb the corpse more than necessary.
So there's a lot to unpack there. First off, the Night of the Black Knives is mentioned. For the first time in-game, it was mentioned in the opening cutscene. But it's discussed as a catalyst for the shattering of the ring. And notice there is sort of a contradiction there, where he says it was long before the Elden Ring was shattered, or long before the events of the shattering. And then immediately he says soon after the Elden Ring was shattered. So that's hard to really reconcile. It's possible that the shattering took place a long time after the ring was shattered, but that seems linguistically not right. But anyway, it also mentions that was the first recorded death of a demigod. That also brings out a whole lot of questions, because there's this whole idea of the god hunt, and we don't have a good explanation for what the god hunt actually accomplished, unless the beings that they killed weren't demigods but actual full gods somehow. Lots of things to try to make sense of there in terms of what order things happened in and how they happened. But the main thrust is that Rogier very badly wants some more information about the plot. And is studying it to try to figure out how best to fix the world. While D, on the other hand, says do not mess with anything to do with those who live in death, no matter what. The only thing we can do is destroy them, because their existence sullies sort of the truth of this order that we all believe in. Why was I here? Oh, one more dude I gotta talk to. Well, a few more dudes.
You appear to be doing well. Very good. Well then, would you like to learn an incantation? That is a work of heresy. Its incantations bear no lineage from the Erd Tree. Very well. I'll take it off your hands.
Okay, and let's look at these incantations real quick, because they are the incantations we're going to be using for much of the game. A black flame incantation of the Godskin Apostles throws a ball of raging black fire. Charging enhances potency and causes the fireball to explode. Black flame is weighty. After dealing damage, it continues to sap foes' HP for a short time. And yeah, that's these are Godskin Black Flame incantations, and we're going to start using them very shortly here, as soon as we can afford to do so. In fact, let's go ahead and memorize this one. And at this point, we're mostly setting the stage for what we're going to be exploring in this next chapter. So we've defeated Godrick. We've got our first rune. This next chapter deals with Enia and the Sorcerers. And it's a chapter that's full of sort of mysteries and like things that won't get resolved quite as easily. Limgrave tended to be pretty self-contained. This one, less so.
I am pleased to see you again. Would you like me to hold you once more? Now, come closer.
It might be too early for this, but she may have new dialogue, so I wanted to check.
You are so very warm. I was known as a deathbed companion where I come from. After I received the warmth and lively vigor from a number of champions, I lay with the remains of an exalted noble. To grant him another chance at life, to do so is the purpose of my being. But before I could bear the noble into new life, I was awakened by the guidance of grace and chased from my birthplace. Pray, be kind. Despite all that, I still wish to be a deathbed companion. So please, let me hold you like this, as often as it takes. My dear, have you ever heard of Black Knife Prince? Dear Rogier likes to talk of them when abed, and the ancient plot in which the first of the demigods was slain. The black knives wielded by the assassins who committed the act, along with the impressions they made, somehow hide the truth of the conspiracy. These grand affairs are hardly my forte, but dear Rogier began to weep as he spoke. In truth, I've heard tell from someone else about the Black Knife Prince that fascinate dear Rogier so. But it wouldn't be right to give this to him, stuck as he is in the Round Table hold. Perhaps you could make use of it?
Love that Fia dialogue where she's just like, oh me, I'm just a silly little girl. She's she's messing with it. She's shrewd, that's for sure. And last but not least, these obviously divine things. Just clearly, just wonderful divine creatures.
Are you that new tarnished? You've done well. I am Enia, the Finger Reader. I interpret the words of the fingers, envoys to the greater will. Look there. The fingers tremble to welcome you, Shardbearer. Let their wisdom wash over you.
Great Elden Ring, root of the Golden Order, anchor of all lands, giver of grace, wellspring of all joy. Until it was shattered, the tragic corruption of the Order has taken its toll. Across the realm, life lies in ruin, fallen to pieces. Foul curses and misery spread, unabating. But the greater will has not abandoned the realm, nor the life that inhabits it. So it is that the Tarnished are guided by grace, called to act. Brave Tarnished, your great rune is a handsome shard of the Elden ring. Seek another of its kind.
To become Elden Lord and restore the Golden Order.
Let the words of the fingers guide you. Well, I see. A remembrance of gold has found its way into your possession. Demigods and even the creator of the champions are hewn by the Earth Tree upon their end into remembrances. They are valuable indeed. These remembrances yet house the power of their former masters. And should you wish to wield that same power, well, I will lend you the strength of the fingers. Do not recoil from my offer. The fingers guide us all. And you, Tarnished, you are here to take, are you not?
Again, worth noting that her interpretation of the fingers said, "We have not been abandoned by the greater will." Opening cutscene very clearly says that we have been, so another sort of mystery to think about. Okay, here's the things we can get. Great axe wielded by Godrick the Grafted. This golden battle axe is emblazoned with the figure of a beast representing the strength of Godfrey, first Elden Lord and Patriarch of the Golden Lineage. I command thee kneel, for I am the Lord of all that is golden. Yeah, so again, big fancy ornate axe that Godfrey never would have used. Grafted Dragon, the embodiment of the power that still remained in the dragon's head that was grafted into Godrick's left arm. Yeah.
Great runes are the stuff of demigods, the children of the goddess, Queen Marika, she who is vessel of the Elden Ring. Tainted by the strength of their runes, her children warred, but none could become Elden Lord. And so grace was extended to your kind, the Tarnished. Listen, the fingers speak.
If you say
the
so.
greater will has long renounced the demigods. Tarnished, show no mercy. Have their heads. Take all they have left.
Indeed. But remember one thing. The demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika. Godrick the Grafted was but a distant relation, the runt of the litter. His divine blood sorely diluted. The child tainted by the strength, and so listen.
The greater
Tarnished. Indeed, the demigodrick run.
Okay.
Now let the words of the fingers guide you.
So, worth noting how many levels of sort of abstraction we're going through here. We've got the greater will is supposed to be like the god above all gods. But he communicates supposedly through the fingers. in this place that isn't really, we don't know who's in charge of it. It appears to be Gideon. But that we don't really understand where it exists or what its purpose is. The fingers don't even talk, they wiggle. And then this lady tells us what they mean. So, with that many levels of sort of divine telephone going on, who knows who's actually talking to us? And I don't. I don't have an answer for this. I've got about a dozen different theories. But I don't think it's the greater will, for sure. I think it's some entity has inserted itself into this whole greater will talks to the fingers, fingers talk to the finger crones talk to us system, right? It doesn't make a ton of sense that we are it doesn't make a ton of sense that we would go through that many levels if we weren't getting something a little garbled.
You've received the wisdom of the two fingers, have you not? Then, just as promised, I bid you welcome. As a true member of the Round Table, I am known as Gideon Ofnir. As a Tarnished who wishes to stand before the Elden Ring and become Elden Lord, I am accumulating knowledge. To be all-knowing. You now belong to a select group of fellows. As such, I ask that you remain constant. You'll be after more great runes now, eh? Then as your fellow, allow me to divulge a little knowledge. The inheritors of the great runes, the Shard Bearers. We of the Round Table know the location of 5 of them, including the one you defeated. Godrick the Grafted, Lord of Stormveil. General Radahn, who fought Melania and her rot to a standstill in the Caelid Wilds. Praetor Rykard, Lord of the Volcano Manor of Mount Gelmir. Morgoth the Grace-Given, Veiled Monarch and Lord of Leyndell. And Renala, Queen of the Full Moon, ruler of Rhea Lucaria's Academy. You'll still be after more great runes, won't you?
Okay. We are only going to have to beat one of those people that they mentioned. Well, 2. Because you have to beat Morgoth no matter what. But the others, we only have to beat one more. And then we can beat the whole game if we want.
So, Godrick the Grafted, Lord of Stormveil. Despite being the blood of Godfrey, first Elden Lord, he's a grotesque old fool grasping for power. His castle lies upon the cliff to Limgrave's northwest, but I suspect you know that well enough already. The Academy of Rhea Lucaria lies to Limgrave's north, towering over the mist-laden lands of Liurnia. Renala is queen of the Carian royals, who govern the Academy, but Renala herself is no demigod. Her beloved Radagon left her to become Queen Marika's second husband, taking the title of King Consort. The Great Rune dwells within the amber egg that was Radagon's gift to her.
So that is our next task, is Renala. Or the golden egg that Renala holds.
You again. I thought you'd receive a summons to the Round Table. Nepheli Loux. We met at Stormveil. I'm glad to see you here. I have something for you. I found it in Godrick's grafting grounds. You defeated him. You should have it. Make
Well, you
good use of
defeated
it.
him.
I don't intend to make a habit of scavenging corpses. Ah, yes. I wonder if you've met my foster father. He's in his study. The room Encher's guarding just over there. If you haven't already, I advise you introduce yourself. Father is leader of the Round Table. I'm sure talking to him will be worth your while. It's about time I headed off. I'll see you again, warrior, should the fates deign it.
Well, I
understand you've been speaking to Nepheli. She's my daughter. I took her in when she lost the guidance of grace. Though a mere axe-wielding barbarian, her youthful credulity suited my purposes. So I put her to work. Do not hesitate to employ her. Should her services benefit you, despite her looks, she is more than capable in the press of battle.
So note he said credulity is what convinced him to take her on. Our first hint that he's kind of a jerk. Again, this place is very clearly ancient. Existed long before the castle itself did. And we see this sort of interesting like decoration style. That doesn't really show up in modern Limgrave architecture at all. We've got these sort of star, like false star appearing things on the walls. From up here we can see several of the towers, of the other towers, because it's sort of just empty in the middle, it's just the sea. We can also see the Gronk Bestial Sanctum. And we can see the tree from literally everywhere. This tower would not open until we defeated Godrick. And we see the fingers appear to be just petrified wood at this point. Like, they aren't even living. They're just part of the tree, but they're very clearly dead. The first demigods were the Elden Lord Godfrey and his offspring, the Golden Lineage. Alright, so now we have killed Godrick the Grafted. We have defeated most of the bosses in Limgrave. There are a couple we're going to have to come back to. We have had our audience with the two fingers. We've been told to go forth and defeat Renala and take her egg. And we will pick back up there next episode.